0% of the human population wants a car without a volume knob. I've never heard anyone say, wow, I wish this didn't have a volume knob. No one's ever said that. So I don't understand why they don't put it on.
Hey everybody, it's Charlie and Christopher with Daily Motor, and today we've got the two mini trucks, the Hyundai Santa Cruz, let's see how many times we call it the Santa Fe throughout this review, or the Tucson, and the Ford Maverick. If you're new to the channel, this is our long-term Ford Maverick. We've got a ton of videos on it, including comparing it against a hybrid Maverick, some fuel economy, all sorts of good things. And we haven't covered the Santa Cruz for a little while. This is a short-term tester. Today we're going to try to go out and talk about the differences of the trucks and try to provide you all with maybe something that all of the other reviews that you've seen between these two haven't included. So there's a lot of the obvious stuff which you can get on paper, you can get from kind of a cut and dry article sheet, and we'll go over some of those, but we're going to really try to suss out some of the practical differences between these two trucks and talk about some of the differences we've seen spending time behind the wheel of both. We've also got a sound system demo and sort of a first drive review on the Santa Cruz, and Christopher has shot a DM test drive and a highway fuel economy test. So take a look at all of those if you'd like to see. But let's get on into it. It's a chilly day here in southeastern Michigan, so we are inside the DM headquarters for this little starting bit, but we'll get these out on the road here momentarily. First things first, differences you notice is that the Santa Cruz is dirty. Everyone, cheers to Chris for not cleaning it, which is funny because I was going to make a joke that it's usually on brand for me to show up with dirty cars, and I actually cleaned it.
But yeah. I'm so scared when it's below freezing out that I had a car in high school that used to freeze, so I'm like traumatized from washing cars in the cold. But
looking at these back lights, they're actually kind of cool. I haven't really taken a look at them. They're like arrows. The whole thing is like an arrow.
Cool. Yeah, they get away from the whole red stapler philosophy of new taillights. But I guess so do yours. Yours are more like a normal truck, like an F-150.
Yeah, it does look kind of normal truck. I mean, it's a little more kind of just generic. But if you look really close, I doubt this is going to come up on camera. This looks like pixels. Look at that. That's kind of neat.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a cheap version of the LC500 holographic taillights, yeah.
Styling is in the eye of the beholder. I overall prefer the looks of the Santa Cruz, but I will admit that the Maverick is much more honest looking. It's less like aggressive, grrr, trying to make a statement, and it just kind of looks like a truck.
You've got more like 1990s Ranger, and then over here with the Santa Cruz, it's more Subaru Baja / shrunken down Chevy Avalanche.
Yeah, a lot of that. A lot of trying to be different.
Yes.
Ranger, see?
you did it first.
Yeah, Maverick has tried to kind of just be more fit-in style. The only thing I don't really care for of the Maverick is the front. We'll go back up there in a sec, but it's almost too soft looking. It's very, very soft, which I got to get over myself and say that's okay for a vehicle to be soft. Mm-hmm. Another thing that apparently must be had with all small trucks is the name being stamped into the tailgate.
It's just every truck now.
Yeah.
They all have the names stamped.
Yep. And this is interesting as well. That is a, $41,000 truck?
It's about 40.
$40,000 truck with the big engine and no hitch. So even though that has a 5,000 pound tow rating, that one there actually has a 0 pound tow rating.
Yeah, they didn't particularly spec this one for towing.
No.
But they did spec it to be able to step up and throw things in the bed, which you can't do with the Maverick.
You're right, I just have to step here, although if my tailgate were down, then that becomes a little difficult.
Oh.
See, this one actually has a feature where it won't drop snow on your shoes.
That's right.
Because it softly opens, whereas this kind of just flops.
I watched that drop snow on you twice in our F-150 review. Exactly. Or maybe it was the F-150, one of them.
No, it was both of them. This one once, the F-150 once. We should also point out before we get too much further that this is a top spec limited trim Santa Cruz, and this is a middle spec XLT, although it is packing the FX4 off-road package, the 4K tow package, and because of those, the 2-liter turbocharged motor, the upgraded motor. And this has a turbocharged 2-liter. Is it 2.5? It's 2.5. Yeah, 2.5 liter turbo.
They're both all-wheel drive as well.
Yeah, and we are going to do a little bit of kind of a street-friendly drag race with these two, just out on the road to kind of see the real-world power, because While this has more power, it also has more weight, about 4,100 pounds to about 3,700 pounds. A 400-pound difference, whereas it also has about a 30 pound-foot of torque difference. So, sorry, 40 pound-foot of torque. So that should be interesting. Another thing we noticed, one extra cup holder on the Santa Cruz, so it does encourage.
And the Maverick doesn't have an extra compartment.
No, and that is actually pretty darn useful. I could imagine somebody putting boots under there or straps.
Or ice.
Or ice, because it has a little plug you can undo.
Yeah, beer holder.
Yep.
But you'll see with the strap for the tonneau cover, it actually didn't that time, but sometimes it gets slammed in there.
Yeah.
This thing as a whole is just like.
Look at all that weight Chris has to put into there. Yeah, that is, and then go ahead and open it.
Oh,
all right,
that worked this
that one
time.
was pretty easy. Maybe it's been inside, but Chris did notice when this truck is cold, it gets really, really difficult to open that. And this thing only has 5,000 miles on it. Once it's got 50,000 miles and has been open and closed many times, that might get difficult. And leave that closed for a moment. I'd like to point out, open, yes. This cover really impedes on a lot of the usable bed space, because here's a few things I've done with my Maverick. Put my fat tire bike in here, and it was able to just kind of sit down in the bed. Would not be possible with that because the tire would hit there. You'd also have trouble putting something like a motorcycle, dirt bikes in the back, or the desk that I actually put in the back of this Maverick as well would not have fit in the back of this. So even though the beds are fairly similarly sized, you do have a little bit more going on in here. This is the limited trim. You have some adjustable tie downs. You have two storage spaces, one with a wall style outlet in there. The XLT trim only gets one storage space, but if this were a Lariat, you'd get a second one in the side, and there is some wiring in the bed that you could put plugs to. This is a little bit more of a DIY kind of setup. In fact, can you get the Santa Cruz without a bed liner? I don't think you can. I think this is always how it comes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you get the whole.
Like this are usually
right.
Like that.
Yep. Let's before you close that, let's close this and kind of compare, sort of looking at it visually. They are pretty similar, but I think, looking right there and right here, I think the Mavericks is just a little bit longer, and I think if I remember from the specs, that's a 4-foot bed, and I think this is 4.5.
Okay.
So that's interesting. And it's especially interesting because as we get into the back seat, Chris noticed that there's actually quite a bit less room.
Yeah, so obviously we test out the back seats in all of the cars.
Let me grab a light real quick.
Okay. The back seat's pretty tiny, and also you've got hard plastic on the back of the seat, and the seat's adjusted for me. I'm 5'11", and I mean my legs are pressed into the seat, so.
Yeah, how's your headroom? The headroom seems fine.
Yeah, it's okay. The Maverick is just so much more spacious.
How is the seat reclined? You still look pretty straight up and down.
I don't think it reclines.
No, I don't think it does. But like, how's the rake? I mean, is it comfortable, or are you pretty up and down?
It's okay. It's really, really tight back here.
Yeah, and that's interesting because you'd think the Santa Cruz. I mean, it looks like it'd be bigger, but if we come on over to the Maverick, in the back seat.
For me to demonstrate as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the passenger seat is. It's actually like all the way back, so this will be a good test.
Okay.
So that's with the passenger seat all the way back. But
It's
go ahead
about
and
the same as the.
go ahead and slide over to the other side. That's in my 5'10". We're about the same size.
Okay.
5'10" setup.
Yeah, my legs are just barely not touching.
And this is a very soft material.
And I feel like I've got way more headroom. It's more of an open cabin in here. Even, this is going to sound silly, but even just the design of the rear doors, you see how that
totally
slopes?
Right. Yeah.
You know, you've got this much of the window cut off in the Santa Cruz, and it just feels a lot more claustrophobic in there.
Right. Yeah, I'll go back over and show you. The way that the Santa Cruz door comes up does make it a lot more claustrophobic. Yeah, and the hard seat back does make a difference, because then when your knees do hit, you're just immediately impeded. This has 2 power points, just like that does. Center flip down armrest. I mean, it feels a little more premium in here, but it's also much tighter. Yeah. And I did point out that this one costs $40,000. That truck over there only $29,000, but we're gonna try to kind of remember if that were a Lariat, it'd still be about $5,000 less than this.
The Santa Cruz is pretty consistently about $5,000 more per trim than the Maverick. It starts at 26, so the base model is $6,000 more for just a front-wheel drive, naturally aspirated truck.
Yep.
And then when you work your way all the way up to the limited, it's still about $5,000 more than a comparable Lariat.
Gotcha.
So
let's do a quick look under the hoods. This looks a lot cleaner. You got a fake little engine cover there. I don't know if that's going to provide much noise insulation, but you also have this that will provide noise insulation. Also, the horn isn't mounted directly into the driver's ears in the Santa Cruz. Well, I will have to do it while we're in it because it'll sound.
Will it echo really bad in here?
Yeah, I think it's going to echo. And also, there's something remarkable about the Maverick because the horns are right there. You hear it so much in the cabin. Yeah, a little bit different look here, but still a pretty compact engine. Something easy to work on. This one's a little bit bigger, but still pretty small. I think this engine probably sounds better when you're driving. This one sounds a little strange.
Yeah, all Ford EcoBoosts kind of have that sound though.
Yeah.
It's pretty consistent with just any other 2-liter Ford EcoBoost.
Right. Also, pro tip, you can get the Bronco Sport hood insulation and put it in the Maverick.
Oh, really?
Should be a little bit quieter. We'll have to try that someday. It is worth pointing out that the FX4 package in the Maverick gets you tow hooks, whereas the Santa Cruz does not. And we have skid plates under there and not too much more off-road goodie, but
Yeah, if you put that into a ditch, you just have to abandon it because there's no towing points anywhere.
no, there really isn't, especially without a hitch. Badge is bigger on the Hyundai too.
Good observation. It also has more lights on the front.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
It's like an alien.
6, 7, 8, whereas the Maverick has less.
That's right.
All right, are we ready to drive?
I'm ready to drive.
Cool. Well, I'll take the Santa Cruiser first. Something I noticed while backing this out is the dual clutch automatic transmission creates some jerkiness while I'm doing slow maneuver things like getting it out of the garage, getting it in and out of tight parking spaces. So I do feel like that's a bit of a downside. It's minor, but it's not as smooth as just the conventional in the Maverick where you just roll off the brake.
Yeah, I've found that occasionally, like you said, taking off from red lights and things like that, it can be a little bit jerky. But it's not jerky to the level of like a 2013 Focus or anything like that. But you can certainly tell that it's a dual clutch. There's no hiding that at all with that thing.
Yeah. But boy, getting it just kind of, it's been a while since I've been in a Santa Cruz, and getting back in it here and driving, this thing is really premium. I mean, it's like the wheel feels nice, and it's got a nice small steering wheel as well. It's a very tight steering wheel and ratio. The cabin's a little boring, but it's also very mature looking with all this black.
Yeah, it's a really nice place to be in there. The vibe in this Maverick is very unique, whereas that still kind of feels like an SUV. This Maverick feels very, very true to itself, very truck, very blocky, and it's not trying to be premium really in any way, because the whole purpose of this thing is to be cheap and to be affordable. And that Santa Cruz is still like a luxurious cabin.
And you pointed that out earlier, that in the Santa Cruz, you could be confused in here that you were sitting in a Tucson, but no one's ever going to be in a Maverick driving it and think they're in an Escape.
No, never. That would never happen.
Oh, but man, is it quiet.
Oh, it's so quiet in there, yeah. The only part in here that's similar to the Escape, I think, is the steering wheel. I think it's the same steering wheel, but other than that, there's like nothing.
Yeah, I think it's same blinkers, like blinker, whatever the thing, stock as well, but it's minor.
Like the lock, unlock buttons and stuff, but those are all just Ford, things.
Right.
Oh, here we go. Gotta try and keep up.
Now, of course, the Santa Cruz is sportier because it has a sport mode. I do really like the gauge cluster on this.
Yeah, Hyundai does a good job with their digital gauge clusters and just making them really visually appealing.
Oh, Chris, look, a real truck is in front of us. Not these silly fake trucks that we have. A real truck has lifted, widened wheels and drives on the right, straddling the center line.
It's also squatted. Did you notice that?
Yes, it's squatted. I think its exhaust pipe is being held up by some sort of apparatus. Oh, and now he's over on the other side of the road. And don't worry, he's got big old trailer mirrors out so he can really see behind him.
I think I'd rather drive a Subaru Outback Wilderness than drive that thing. And I mean that.
You think we should race him?
Oh, the Santa Cruz will take him for sure. I don't know about the Maverick. You might hurt his ego.
Oh.
You might get a little bit of a middle finger if you try and go around him.
We're keeping up just fine. Gosh, this is such a refined experience in this truck.
But I'm also not, like, it's not a culture shock getting into the Maverick. I don't feel like I'm back into the Stone Ages. It's still, I'm still really surprised with how nice they were able to make the interior of this Maverick for how cheap it is. And not nice in the way of luxury, but just like nice and refreshing and like good.
Right. All right, I don't know where my drive mode selector, oh, there it is.
It's a little switch by shift.
Oh, understeer.
Did you almost crash?
No, it's just more understeer than I expected.
We've got a 2008 Focus going about 90 up the right lane here. Oh, and he's gonna have to. I don't know why he was waiting so long.
I do remember from driving the Santa Cruz out in Santa Cruz that this chassis is really tight, and it's got more structural rigidity than a Tucson because of that big centerpiece being connected in it. So you really can't hustle this truck.
Yeah, it's definitely more hustleable than the Maverick.
Rough ride section. It's a little bumpy.
It's soft though. I feel like it's a softer ride than this. Ooh. Well, maybe not. I feel like they're maybe about even.
There definitely is a simplicity to the Maverick that you don't get in here. I mean, it's a very busy cabin. You feel more cockpity in here. There's so many buttons and switches and knobs and levers. And then there's not buttons and switches and levers where you want them to be. The climate control, I mean, it's fairly straightforward, but you do have to look for things more, whereas in that truck, climate and volume and everything, they're just big straightforward knobs that even if you had gloves on or something, you could just tap. If I were wearing gloves, these HVAC controls might not work very well.
Yeah, that whole entire climate control panel is just one piece, and that probably explains why there is no volume knob, because it would have been too expensive to integrate one.
Well, and I think they were trying to go for a real sleek, symmetrical look, but gosh, just throw us a few knobs. Even if it's one knob on the left and one knob on the right, you can still be symmetrical.
Yeah, 0% of the human population wants a car without a volume knob. I've never heard anyone say, wow, I wish this didn't have a volume knob. No one's ever said that. So I don't understand why they don't put it on.
Do I have stop start?
I don't think that does.
I don't think it
I
does.
don't think it has it.
No. Huh.
At least in this, there's a big button to turn it off. It's very easy.
Yes. I appreciate that the heated and cooled seat controls here are actual real buttons and not touch capacitive, because the EV6 that I just drove had capacitive buttons, and about 6 times during the drive I accidentally enabled them.
It's like being back in a Volkswagen.
Exactly.
Oh, torque steer.
I can't see how fast I'm going. 56-ish.
You've got,
56,
ooh.
57, I've got a lot of stability.
At 51, the Maverick started to feel like oversteer.
Okay.
So I backed off a little. There was like a weird weight transfer at 50 miles an hour. It was kind of alarming.
Interesting. All right, up here on the highway, what the Santa Cruz does have, its little party trick, is an excellent active lane keeping system. So if I enable that, and as it sees the lanes, it will drive me.
Yeah, take your hands off the wheel.
Right. The Ford has a decent active lane keeping system, but it's not the type like this where you can just essentially take your hands off. I'm not saying you should be doing this, but the fact is you can, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, how do you activate it in this? I have no idea how it works.
Oh, and the Maverick?
Yeah.
It's the very outside of the turn signal stalk has a button on the end of it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yep.
That's nice.
Very simple to do once you know where it is.
It's hidden by the steering wheel.
I do think it's a bit silly that this has normal mode and smart, because you'd think like they're both going to provide pretty similar functions, so why not just get rid of normal mode and just have smart, sport, and snow? But whatever.
And eco.
Yeah.
Or eco.
Does it have an eco? No, it doesn't. It's just, I mean,
No,
yeah.
it doesn't have eco.
Right. All right, let's
The
I'm gonna go into snow mode if you want to go into, I think you have a slippery mode, which is gonna be, yeah.
Slippery mode, okay. Slippery mode activated.
Can I turn, I think in this you can turn stability control all the way off, where you cannot in the Maverick.
Traction control off.
Okay. Seems to be taking it pretty well, pretty smooth. This thing is amazing. It's got 5,000 hard miles, and there's no creaks or rattles or anything.
Well, you've got 1,300 miles on this Ford, and it doesn't seem to have any rattles that I can hear. Here.
Ooh.
That looks a little rough. I'm gonna slow down.
The Maverick has all-terrain tires on it, being FX4. This only has all seasons. But at the end of the day, this is not hard stuff, and both trucks are able to manage it just fine.
Is everything frozen back here?
Yeah.
Nice and smooth, thanks to the ice.
Again, worth noting that with the FX4 off-road package, the Maverick has some skid plates underneath, so were you to hit a rock or a big log, you'd be a little bit safer than you are in this.
That's right.
Yeah, pretty good suspension in this. I wasn't left disappointed, and I do think it really is worth pointing out the ability to turn stability control off, because you can hoon a little bit more in this one.
Yeah, you're getting some pretty good sideways action back there. Oh, and you still are. Yeah, you're getting some pretty good sideways action back there. Oh, and you still are.
Little autocross course that's set up back here.
This is just understeering.
I do like the big old shifter, as much as I don't mind the rotary shifter in the Ford, and I'm totally okay with it. And in fact, I'd probably rather have it from a practicality aspect. This shifter is really nice to grab and use.
Yeah, I actually said that. I said that in my review on how the dial shifter in the Maverick is one of my least favorites. And I like that they just have a normal, traditional shifter in the Santa Cruz.
Also a much nicer infotainment system, no big surprise. I mean, the Lariat Ford would get Sync 4 with a little bit of extra goodies, but it definitely wouldn't be as nice looking as this screen. There's both two really high-res screens, and yeah, nice place to be in here. It's a totally different vibe. This is much more like daily driver, crossover-y sort of vibe, and that is utility vibe. This, I gotta say, this cabin is a little bit more welcoming, if not as luxurious feeling.
I can see that you're in just full-on race mode in here.
Yeah, I'll always keep it 100. Oh, but you know, in that truck, you don't have a nifty little compartment that does absolutely nothing next to your screen.
Yeah, what would you do without that little compartment? You'd have nowhere to put your nothing.
Right. Not only do I have that compartment that I never use, but I also have a compartment above the screen that I never use. So there's two.
There are lots of nothing compartments in that. How do I turn traction control back on?
Left side, left of the wheel.
And away we go. This truck would be aided much by a leather steering wheel, which you would get in the Lariat. I may look into trying to swap out my wheels.
We should try and borrow one. I think that the absence of a leather steering wheel and just how hard the wheel is in that thing really has a big impact on the overall experience. And I know that sounds silly, but like genuinely, the interior of this car just feels so much more plush and more comfortable. And I think if you literally just put a leather steering wheel on that Maverick, it would feel so much nicer.
I agree. The suspension in this seems to have a little bit more confidence. It's a little harder, but with that firmer ride makes you feel like if you hit a big old pothole or something, or a big off-road rut, your truck would survive a little bit better. But that Santa Cruz takes the littler bumps smoother.
Yeah, that's a good point. It feels more from a daily driver perspective. It does feel softer in the ride department, just on normal roads. Did you put your wipers on?
Yeah.
It's very loud through the phone.
Oh yeah. Oh, this feels so much quicker, and like way faster.
They have the throttle tuned more aggressively in that car, that's for sure.
That's what I was just about to say, is that the throttle response and just the overall tuning of everything is like so much more.
This this transmission does do some weirdness every now and then. It's not. Oh, geez, he wants to be a badass. I'm just not gonna let him over. All right, we're going to come this way, and then after that truck, we're gonna U-turn it right here and come through.
Oh, this would be a good time to test turning circle.
Yeah. Actually, quite good in the Maverick.
Santa Cruz as well. No problem.
Good.
All right, so sport mode. I'm gonna leave it in automatic because the paddle shifters in this car are a bit crude and they don't let you rev it all the way out to red line. So
Sure. All right, pull up next to me, and then I'll give the 3, 2, 1 go, because I'm gonna have to brake torque. A little bit more. More. Up to my mirror. Make the mirrors match. There you go. All right. Ready?
Yep.
oh, he got the jump on me. I'm coming back. He's coming back. Goodbye.
Woo! We're gonna have to do another one of those.
Yeah, that was really close.
I would imagine that the Maverick's got a little bit more advantage from the get-go because it's 400 pounds lighter, but then your power comes in and gives you an advantage. Oh, it feels lighter around the corner. Once you push it, you get a lot of understeer, but I think the Santa Cruz feels happier to drive spiritedly, but this does feel a little bit lighter on its feet.
Yeah. Man, sport mode really holds those gears in this thing. Can I voice a petty complaint in this?
Absolutely.
When you go into the manual mode with our traditional shifter here, it's the wrong way. Does that make sense? Up is up and down is down. It should be down should be up and up should be down.
Yep.
I don't understand why we can't just have like a uniform like setting with that. I don't. Why are they always different?
In the Maverick, you can't even select your own gears. You're victim to whatever the truck wants to be in.
That's so strange to me, especially with the FX4 off-road pack. You think they would give you paddle shifters,
right?
I don't even know. Do you get them with the Lariat?
I doubt it. You want to try to pull off this race real quick before those cars come up on us?
Yeah.
All right, I'll let you honk this time.
Alright, you ready?
Yep.
Oh, it takes me a second to get off the line.
It's pretty close to 60, but right about 50, 60 miles per hour, you start walking.
Yeah. Wow.
All right, back into normal mode. Oh, Spark. There we go, normal mode.
I'm going to turn normal mode back on as well.
Now we should probably flee the scene.
Yes.
Yep.
To hoonigan trucks having nefarious activities.
Ooh, a lot of understeer. Holy crap.
Yeah, that thing, as soon as it gives up hard.
I like the size of the steering wheel in the Santa Cruz, and I like the whole design of that steering wheel. It's really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, the overall design, it gets really hot too if you put the heated steering wheel on, like almost unbearably hot, which is good for cold mornings. And also the feel of the paddle shifters is nice. Aesthetically, it's nice. I agree with you on that. Definitely a better steering wheel in this truck.
Rough ride section in the Mav. Yeah, getting jostled around a bit. It's pretty comparable, I suppose. Yeah, maybe a little bit more. This feels like more of an off-roady suspension. We'll see how it is in the off-road section. It's good for me to put this at watt every now and again to clear off the carbon buildup from the injectors.
No dumping. Make sure you don't dump while we're on this straightaway. It smells like somebody else did, though. Wow, that is hideous.
Yeah.
Thank goodness Ford was nice enough to put a nice leather wrapped center console lid. It's the one remarkably premium aspect of this interior.
Yeah, that is interesting. This has a nice one as well.
Obviously, we've been trying to avoid price for most of this review, but it's at least worth pointing out, like we did at the beginning, every Santa Cruz is about $6,000 more expensive than the Maverick. You cannot get a hybrid in the Santa Cruz, whereas you can get the hybrid Maverick base, nonetheless, that gets really good fuel economy. We measured 33 miles per gallon on the highway with the hybrid, 30 miles per gallon on the highway with this truck, and then 27 in the Santa Cruz?
Yep, 27.
27 with the Santa Cruz. So the Maverick is very much more the economical choice. And in today's new car market where everything is so gosh darn expensive, I think that's the Maverick's biggest play, is that it costs less, but you don't feel like you're getting... You feel like you're getting less than the Santa Cruz, but not in a painful punishment sort of way, just in an objective way.
How could I have understeered at 35 around that?
Oh, the Maverick will go up to about 6. Oh shit, now I'm understeering a lot.
Charlie. Oh my God. You're gonna have to watch that back on my camera. That was hilarious.
Oh, the Maverick will go up to about 6. Oh shit, now I'm understeering a lot.
No adaptive cruise in the XLT, which I actually don't really mind. I don't particularly love adaptive cruise control, but it is a nice thing to have when you're on 2-lane roads, so it's good that the Santa Cruz has it. But I will demonstrate the rudimentary active lane keeping in here. The Maverick's louder on the highway. The Santa Cruz is certainly more of the more refined and quieter, just nice place to be. A Lariat might be a little bit quieter because you do have some insulated glass, but here's the active lane keeping if I let go. It's a very subtle nudge on the steering wheel, but that is it.
You have to actually change lanes back with a turn signal after the lane keep lets you go into the other lane.
Yes. Also, for some reason, the center screen is very dim right now. I don't know why. I've got the brightness all the way up. Maybe there's a brightness I could change in the center, but that's interesting. Especially after getting out of the Santa Cruz, which has such a bright, vibrant, high-def display. I really don't see any benefit to having the dual clutch automatic in the Santa Cruz. I know that you said it's not bad and everything, but we've talked recently about cars. Conventional transmissions have gotten so good in the days of ZF 8-speeds and everything. Maybe it's a little bit lighter and a little bit more fuel efficient to use a DCT, but I think the cons of the random weird shifts and the delays, they're larger than the pros that you get.
Yeah, I think companies need to learn from 2013 Ford and realize that it's okay to put a normal automatic in. You know, I don't dislike the DCT in this. I think Hyundai, out of all brands, gets the DCT the best. It's certainly tuned better than the Volkswagen Taos that we were driving.
Porsche would like to have a word with you, but okay.
Well, outside of performance cars, what I'm trying to say is, like, as far as like just normal cars, I mean, obviously, you know, you could argue Lamborghini, Porsche, Ferrari, you know, whatever. But as far as just normal civilian cars, like, you know, the Volkswagen Taos, all the BS that Ford was making a few years ago, I think that the DCT in this is probably, oh wow, it's a little bumpy right there. The DCT in this behaves the best.
I agree. Yeah, I feel more confident to be taking this truck off-road. Maybe it's just because I'm more familiar with it, but the bigger bumps don't upset the car as much. Again, not a big surprise because this has an off-road package.
Yeah.
But it is a bummer that you can't turn off stability control.
Yeah.
The Topher would not be pleased. Oh, look at that. That was nice. I saw that through here.
Thank you.
Ford did a really good job at just making this truck pretty solid inside, though. I mean, it's we're not too surprised that the Hyundai feels well put together, but I'm a little surprised the Ford is so well put together. Two very different trucks that are trying to fit in a very similar segment and market. I personally would have the Maverick as I have, but I'm cheap, and I do think that there are fewer people who would take the Santa Cruz, but the people who would very much rather have a Santa Cruz.
I agree with that. I think the Santa Cruz tailors to people who are very lifestyle focused, very outdoorsy, want to go on long trips. And that's where the Santa Cruz would really excel, because you have the more luxurious interior, you have the softer everyday ride, you've got a little bit more passing power for the highway, and overall just more of a long distance cruiser, whereas the Maverick is really good for around town trips, being cheap, if you have a small business, throwing things in the back and hauling things around. And even though they do take up the same market, I think very, very different buyers for each car.
I agree. One thing that is worth noting is everyone who's driven the base model engine, the base engine in the Santa Cruz, says it's woeful. It's like 181 horsepower and just way underpowered for a truck that weighs a lot more. Whereas the base powertrain in this truck is actually the one that Chris and I would have. It's quite nice. Yeah, it's slower, but it's an ECVT hybrid setup, so it's got a lot of torque, and it's just a pleasure to drive around town. So that goes even further to say that the Maverick is the better choice for the pragmatic buyer.
100%. Yep, agree with that.
Can you get a front-wheel drive Santa Cruz? I'm pretty sure you can.
Yes, yep, the base model, the first two trim levels are standard front-wheel drive.
Right. Anything else that we feel like it's worth pointing out? The Maverick is definitely more fun inside. I think it's just more youthful, more jovial. You got the orange colors in here. A Lariat would have a nice brown that they put on here. The Santa Cruz looks very, I mean, you feel like you could Uber black that car, just because inside it's just a lot of very nice materials and nice design.
Yeah.
You could Uber black it, but you'd have to saw off the legs of your passengers first.
I'm gonna say that, yeah. It'd be a 5'3" and under Uber black service.
That's right, yeah.
You have a sunroof, don't you?
I do.
Whereas I do not, although it is an option.
Makes a fun sound. Can you hear that in there?
I can't. It sounds like a zipper. Do you have a handle above the driver's window?
Yes.
I'll be damned. I assume your sunshades extend?
Of course they do. They both do. And they're also good sizes too. That's, sun visors are so important. They're so important to be a good size, to be able to stretch to cover the whole window. And they're very good in this. I was very, very irritated with the Volkswagen Taos because of its sun visors. And I think that car was what brought me into the realm of appreciating sun visors.
Well, on that vein, this one has a remarkably nice metal rod sun visor. You don't get that. I've been in Mercedes that have plastic rod sun visor extensions, so this is pretty good. Although, interestingly, no light for the vanity mirror.
Ah, this one does have a light on both sides. Both sides get a light.
Huh. All right. Do you have a sunglasses holder?
No.
Okay. Score one for the Maverick.
If there's anything the Maverick excels in, it's pockets and compartments.
Oh, yeah, things that you never use. One thing that is very nice to have is Ford was smart to do both USB-A and USB-C ports in the front and rear, and they both function for data. If I'm not mistaken, you only have A, and only one port works for data.
Correct.
Yes.
Do you have auto up and down window controls?
In the rear.
No, only in the front.
Is it both front or just the driver?
Both front.
Okay, I only have the driver. That's interesting that the Santa Cruz doesn't have all that. Anything else? Both have electric parking brakes, unfortunately. I have a trailer brake controller, but he doesn't even have a hitch.
Could you imagine a hybrid front-wheel drive Maverick with a manual parking brake, a mechanical park? You could get into so much trouble.
Oh my gosh, it'd be great. It'd be like an old Ranger, although it would be, it'd be front-wheel drive, so you could literally just hold them. I bet you could just hold this thing down too, and it would probably lock it, but it probably nerfs the power. So
yeah.
I think that's probably about it.
All right.
You have a better sound system in there, that's for sure. Although we have not tested the B&O 8-speaker system in the Maverick, so we'll have to do that at some point.
Yeah, we'll get that. We'll do that for sure.
Cool. Well, let's hop out, take one more look. Maverick does not come with a proxy key unless you step up to the Lariat, I believe. I can't remember if the XL2 luxury package gets that or not. Yeah, the Santa Cruz just looks, it's going to turn more heads. It's just,
Totally.
it just stands out more. It looks like a cooler car. The Maverick is more honest in itself, but that's not always a good thing. Also, I said earlier, I think the wheels look silly on this. It looks like you're trying to be like an LA surfer dude, which I know that's what they're literally what Hyundai is going for.
Right.
But the Maverick just looks like I have wheels because I'm a car. Yeah. Huh. All right. So which would you pick?
I think for myself, for the life that I currently live, I would pick the Maverick because it's cheaper and it does everything I need it to do. But if I was an LA surfer dude, or if I was going on long road trips across the country to parks and such, I'd have the Santa Cruz.
So you heard it here first, folks. If you are an LA surfer dude or gal, right, pick the Santa Cruz. But other than that, I think most people have kind of come to the same conclusion. Ford just knocked it out of the park with the Maverick. It's really incredible. So as much as I like this, and this is good, I'd have that. Yeah. So thank you all so much for watching. We've got content up the ass for both trucks, so if you do want to see it, check the links in the description, and we will see you on the next one. We're Charlie and Christopher with Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.